Success is often seen as a straight line of path that begins with effort and ends with triumph. But in truth, success is rarely about perfection or constant victory. It is instead about endurance, the ability to rise each time life knocks you down. As Winston Churchill once said, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. This quote captures the very essence of what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Every dreamer, every leader, and every achiever has walked through darkness before reaching the light. Success is not a gift. It is a relentless pursuit that demands courage, faith, and persistence in the face of disappointment. We live in a world where failure is often feared and misunderstood. Many people see it as the end of the road, as proof that they were not good enough. But what if we looked at failure differently? What if failure was not a dead end, but a redirection, a signpost that leads us toward growth, wisdom, and strength? Every time we fail, we are given two choices: to surrender or to start again. The people who eventually succeed are not those who never fall, but those who refuse to stay down. The truth is, enthusiasm, the burning passion within us, is the real measure of success. The world is full of stories of men and women who were defeated, ridiculed, and doubted, yet they persisted because they believed that one more attempt could make all the difference. Winston Churchill is a shining example of this spirit. His life was a testament to resilience, perseverance, and an unbreakable will. Before he became the legendary British Prime Minister who led his nation through World War II, Churchill had faced countless setbacks. Early in his career, he was dismissed as impulsive and overly ambitious. He lost elections, made controversial decisions, and was blamed for disastrous outcomes, such as the Gallipoli campaign during World War I. Critics called him finished, washed up, and politically irrelevant. But Churchill never allowed those failures to define him. He understood that defeat was temporary and that enthusiasm was eternal. He once remarked, "Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." That courage would later define one of the most remarkable leadership stories in history. In 1940, when Churchill became Prime Minister, Britain was on the brink of collapse. The Nazi forces had conquered much of Europe, and Britain stood almost alone against one of the most powerful war machines the world had ever seen. Many leaders might have surrendered or sought compromise, but not Churchill. Instead, he infused his nation with hope. Through his powerful speeches, he transformed fear into courage, despair into defiance. His words became weapons as potent as any army. "We shall fight on the beaches," he declared. "We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender." Those words were not just rhetoric. They were a rallying cry for perseverance. Churchill's unyielding spirit turned the tide of morale and gave his people something far greater than weapons belief. What made Churchill so extraordinary was not his victories, but his attitude toward failure. He embraced challenges with enthusiasm, even when the odds were overwhelming. When his political career seemed over, he wrote, studied, and reflected. He didn't allow rejection to silence him. Instead, he sharpened his understanding of history, war, and human nature. So when the moment of crisis arrived, he was not just ready, he was prepared to lead. This is the mark of true success: to keep learning, to keep growing, and to keep believing, even when the world doubts you. Churchill's journey teaches us that enthusiasm in the face of adversity is the secret weapon of all great achievers. Each of us at some point faces moments where everything seems lost. Perhaps it's a failed exam, a broken dream, or a door that refuses to open. In those moments, it's easy to lose faith, to convince ourselves that success belongs to others. But the reality is that success often hides behind the wall of repeated failures. Every rejection letter, every setback, every disappointment, these are not signs of weakness, but stepping stones toward strength. What separates achievers from dreamers is the willingness to keep trying when enthusiasm fades. The truth is, enthusiasm must be renewed daily. It's not something we find. It's something we create within ourselves. Winston Churchill's story shows that enthusiasm can be a light even in the darkest times. When bombs fell on London and fear swept through Britain, he reminded his people that they were fighting not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity. His energy was contagious. Even when sleep-deprived and surrounded by chaos, he radiated determination. That fire, that enthusiasm, was his greatest weapon. It is what allowed Britain to stand firm until victory was possible. And so, when we think about success, we must remember this. Success is not measured by how high you climb, but by how steadfastly you rise after every fall. To truly understand success, we must first understand failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Every successful person you've ever admired has failed more times than you can imagine. The difference is that they never let failure destroy their enthusiasm. They saw failure as feedback, not as finality. It told them what didn't work and pointed them toward what might. Success is, in essence, the art of persistence. It's the ability to hold on to your passion when logic tells you to quit. Churchill exemplified this resilience throughout his life. Even before his rise to power, he faced tremendous personal and political adversity. In 1915, his military strategy during the Gallipoli campaign ended in disaster, leading to the deaths of thousands. The failure haunted him deeply, and public opinion turned against him. He was removed from his post and humiliated. Most politicians would have retired quietly, but not Churchill. Instead, he joined the army and went to fight on the Western Front, determined to contribute in any way he could. Imagine that a former minister fighting in the trenches as an ordinary soldier. That humility, that refusal to let failure crush him, is what defined him. He didn't allow defeat to dim his fire. He used it to forge a stronger will. When he returned to politics, he was once again mocked and sidelined. Yet Churchill continued to write, to speak, and to learn. He understood something that most people miss. Enthusiasm is a choice. It's the decision to stay passionate, even when progress seems impossible. It's the refusal to allow disappointment to dictate your destiny. His speeches, filled with power and conviction, came from years of experience with failure. Every setback had strengthened his voice. Every rejection had made his resolve more unshakable. That's why, when the world needed hope, he could deliver it with such authenticity, because he had lived it. This principle applies to all of us. In your life, you will face moments that test your spirit. You'll be tempted to quit, to believe that the world has no place for your dreams. But it's in those moments that you must remember Churchill's lesson. Success is the ability to keep your enthusiasm alive. Think of your enthusiasm as a flame. Failure may blow hard against it, but as long as you shield it with your courage, it will never go out. The moment you stop believing in yourself is the moment you stop growing. During World War II, when Britain faced its darkest hour, Churchill's enthusiasm didn't just sustain him, it sustained an entire nation. The German air raids destroyed homes, took lives, and caused immense despair. But Churchill's presence reminded people that they were not defeated. He often visited bombed neighborhoods, walking among the rubble, shaking hands with survivors, and encouraging them personally. That human touch, that spark of hope, made all the difference. He made people feel that their courage mattered, that their suffering had purpose. His message was clear: never give in. Those 3 words carried the weight of his entire life's experience. If you look at your own journey, you might realize that your greatest growth came after your hardest trials. Every time you failed but didn't give up, you became stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Success is not built on comfort, it's built on endurance. It's easy to be enthusiastic when things are going well. The real test is whether you can stay motivated when everything seems to fall apart. Churchill proved that enthusiasm is more powerful than circumstance. It is the inner energy that pushes you forward when all external forces tell you to stop. Churchill's story is not just about leadership in war, it's about leadership of the soul. He once said, "If you're going through hell, keep going." Those words summarize the mindset of every successful person in history. When you walk through failure, You must not stop to pity yourself. You must keep walking, keep believing, and keep your enthusiasm alive. That's how you transform failure into success. Every failure carries a hidden opportunity, a chance to rebuild yourself with greater wisdom. Success, therefore, is not about never failing. It's about learning to smile at failure, knowing it's shaping you for something greater. It's about having the courage to laugh in the face of defeat and say, "I will try again." When Churchill stood before his people, his message wasn't built on empty optimism. It was built on hard-earned faith. He knew that persistence fueled by enthusiasm can change the course of history, and it did. Britain did not surrender. The free world prevailed. And the legacy of that unbroken spirit continues to inspire millions today. Now, let us reflect on what this means for us in our daily lives. Success is not reserved for heroes of history or leaders of nations. It is available to everyone who refuses to quit. The same fire that burned in Churchill can burn within you. The same enthusiasm that carried him through war can carry you through your struggles. Whether you're a student facing failure, a dreamer facing rejection, or a professional facing setbacks, the lesson remains the same: keep your enthusiasm alive. Every failure you face is simply a test of your belief. Will you let it define you, or will you use it to refine you? Churchill could have walked away from politics after Gallipoli. He could have let humiliation silence his voice. But instead, he chose to learn, to grow, and to prepare for his next opportunity. When that opportunity finally came, he was ready, not because he avoided failure, but because he had mastered it. That's what makes his story timeless. He turned every setback into preparation for success. In our modern world, we are constantly told to chase success as if it's a destination, a final trophy to be won. But success is not a place, it's a mindset. It's the ability to move forward after failure with the same enthusiasm you had when you began. That's why Churchill's quote holds so much truth. Success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. It reminds us that enthusiasm is not dependent on results. It's dependent on resilience. Think about it. Every great invention, every great discovery, every great movement in history began with failure. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln lost multiple elections before becoming one of the greatest presidents in history. Even Churchill's road to victory was paved with mistakes and missteps. What united them all was enthusiasm, the relentless belief that each failure was just one step closer to success. We often underestimate how powerful a positive mindset can be. Enthusiasm is contagious. It lifts people around you. It gives you strength when logic says you're finished. When Churchill spoke, his enthusiasm ignited courage in others. That's what leaders do. They remind people of their strength when hope seems lost. And in your own way, you too can be a leader. You can inspire those around you by showing resilience in your struggles. The way you face failure becomes a light for others to follow. The world needs people who do not lose enthusiasm, who do not let disappointment crush their dreams. It needs those who keep going despite rejection, who see failure as a teacher rather than a punishment. Every time you rise after a fall, you strengthen not just yourself, but everyone who watches you. Success in the end is not about glory, it's about endurance. It's about maintaining your fire when the world goes cold. So the next time you fail, remember Churchill. Remember the man who was called finished but went on to save a nation. Remember that success is not a straight road. It's a winding path full of detours, mistakes, and unexpected lessons. And every time you stumble, smile and say, "I'm still going." Because the ones who never stop moving forward are the ones who eventually win. Your enthusiasm is your greatest power. Protect it. Nurture it. Let it shine even in your darkest hours. Because in the end, success belongs not to those who never fail, but to those who never lose heart. Winston Churchill's life proves it beyond doubt. The fire of enthusiasm can outshine the darkest night. Let that fire guide you, and you will discover that every failure is simply another step toward your destiny.